All right, everyone, welcome. The time is 6:30. I'd like to call this District 204 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Alvarez?
Present.
Member Vita Daniels?
Present.
Member Hidalgo Campbell?
Here.
Member Dillon?
Here.
Member Giannotti Fries? Member Kennedy?
Present.
Member Lopez?
Present.
All right, I ask we all rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our next item is public participation. Do we have anyone signed up for tonight's first public session?
We do.
Okay. As a reminder, there are two opportunities for public participation. The first opportunity is for individuals who signed up prior to the meeting. For those who wish to speak during our second opportunity at the end of the meeting, please see Mary Lynn Muscolino just outside the room. The board appreciates hearing from our community, but does not engage in dialogue or discussion. If there is a comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate administrator will respond at a later time. In accordance with board policies 2:230 and 8:30, we appreciate you limiting your comments to 3 minutes and for keeping tonight's meeting respectful and civil. Marilyn, will you please call our first speaker?
Rick Knopf?
My name is Rick Knopf. About 30 years ago, I was a local realtor, and I found the land out there in Willow Springs, and I thought, who owns that? And I did some research and found out LT did. And I was like, wow, what are they gonna do with it? And again, as I researched, it's like, well, they might combine the two campuses, whatever. And I'm like, that's never gonna happen in my head. So I started thinking a little outside the box. If you try to sell it, you're gonna have a bunch of people that are gonna say, no, 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 or we don't want, this or that or the other thing. My whole idea in general is, you find hope maybe even somebody that went to Lyons Township, who was a land developer, and you develop the property yourself, okay? And you I had talked to a bank at the time and said, is that a possibility? The reason I would do that is instead of making it super dense, I think I read somewhere Pulte's interested, and again, they're gonna look at how they can maximize their profits. And I understand that, but the people around there probably are not gonna be a big fan of that. If you took just something as simple as 70 lots, made them decent sized, and kept the rest of it, that would create another 30 acres that you could create as local park. You could tie in with Pleasantdale, you could tie in with the other parks that are out there, maybe turn it into a large soccer field for Lyons Township use. You could have tournaments out there, you could do that. The other lots, you just sell most of them, and you hang on to 10 of them. Why would you hang on to 10 of them? You start your own home building program here at Lyons Township. I think the community would get behind it. I think they would support it. I think they would look at it as, yeah, that makes sense. Would you make enough to pay for the air conditioning in certain buildings and things like that? Probably not, but I do believe in my heart that it's a good idea and it would be well received. And I think that's my idea. And again, now, I am no longer a realtor. I got out of it, went back into roofing, which I did way back. I now own LaGrange Roofing. At 72, I'm still working because I love building my business. And it was a blue collar. I never finished college. And I think there's a lot of people out there, and again, you read more and more about people saying, well, should I go to college? This would give them an opportunity. You got a bunch of unions around here that I think would support that program and come in, talk to the kids, teach them. And again, but I don't have any skin in the game. I don't want to be involved in the program. I don't want to, when I was a realtor, it was like, well, yeah, you're a realtor. You're trying to sell the lots. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't want anything to do, and that's it.
Thank you.
That concludes our public participation.
All right, thank you very much. So our first item for discussion is continued board discussion for future facilities funding discussion. Willow Springs property, Brian Waterman.
Yeah, this is something that we put on the agenda. I know Tim's going to share a few thoughts, but really, my goal for tonight is to float the idea that came up from a board member about a month ago, is the idea of bringing on a real estate consultant to assist with this potential property sale, so.
Yeah, and I think that goes to, again, Board Member Kennedy had reached out to me and then followed back up with Superintendent Waterman, the idea of hiring a real estate consultant or broker to assist with the marketing and valuation of the property. Really, initially I think there was some reservations, but the more we looked into it, and I'll let Brian speak to that at some point to talk about what this could mean. But before I do that, I think it's worthy of turning it over to Sean to talk to us a little bit about where this idea came from and some of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think just simply, it's a very large asset. I don't know that anybody in the room has had any dealings with selling anything like this.
Yeah.
And for us to be good stewards of the area and the tax revenue and everything, that exploring this option, I think, is something that we should do, to hire somebody, a group that will help us maximize the best, incorporating an idea like this potentially, just working with us to do the best for the community and the school.
And so I think there were, obviously we want to get everybody's input on this, but the initial, my at least hesitation with it was if we're looking at a percentage that we're paying for the property, that could be a significant number. But it turns out that it wouldn't be that. So actually I'll turn that over to Brian to speak to
Yeah,
a little bit.
I asked James Levy from Hodges to be here to speak to that, because this is a conversation James and I had a couple weeks ago, when I learned that really school boards can't hire brokers on a percentage basis. It's more on a professional services contract for a fee-based service. So you want to talk through that, James?
Yeah, so under the school code, you can only hire a broker to assist you in selling the property if you set a reasonable minimum price, and that reasonable minimum price, no one either submits a bid at all, or the bids are non-conforming. At that juncture, then after that occurs, you can go out and engage the services of a broker to sell the property at a percentage not to exceed 7% within 120 days. And obviously, if you don't sell within 120 days, you re-up that. So that's how the school code addresses the use of brokers. It does brokers literally in the sense of selling your real estate. The school code also allows you to utilize a broker to help find a buyer. So that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
marketing, valuation, whatever other services you need to do that. So you can do that. That obviously, since the percentage component is only associated with the sale, this would be on however you guys negotiate the deal, hourly, flat fee, not to exceed, obviously several choices. But it would not be a percentage as you would when you sell your home for $100,000 and they charge 6% and they get their percentage.
Thank you. So, thoughts, ideas, and again, I don't know that anything, we're obviously not committing to anything right now, but just want to get some feedback and thoughts on whether or not we feel like this might be a good avenue to walk down and get some more information on.
I would love to hear more information on it. I think it'd be great to see, because I think everyone you would talk to might present it differently. And like, do you look, like, are we looking just locally? Is it a national? I mean, it's such a big parcel of property that, the questions that I think it would be imperative to ask of anyone that we would consider hiring is how would they market it and who are their connections to do that? Because I think when we look back to last time when we did it, it was just really, the burden was really upon LT. And there's only so much that, and so many connections that we have. So I think this would be a great, and I do like the fact that it's not a percentage. That we would know that it would be a known cost going in.
Yeah.
And, into it.
And I think I would only add to that, because that was gonna be my question to you, and I appreciate James being here and then answering the question about what would that cost to the district.
Yeah.
But even further, I guess I was wondering then, is this, and I don't know, so are there a lot of people that do these kinds of like this kind of brokering for an entity like us, like a public school? And if so, then do we set the parameter about what we're willing to do, or is it more like they're gonna almost solicit to us because they might be trying to say, I want your business and we're willing to do it for X, Y, and Z, or whatever.
So maybe backwards first. For the parameters, it's whatever you want to do, right? You're going to be engaging a consultant, let's call them, for whatever it is you want them to do. If it's marketing, finding a buyer, whatever it is, we would delineate those services, obviously, and then have the fee for those services. So whatever it is we want to have done, we'd make sure that that contract reflects that. As far as opportunities for for brokers or others to do this, I assume that, you know, any brokerage agency and others would be willing to do this. In my experience, we've had some experience dealing with brokers. Usually, the school districts will let the market itself, like you did last time, determine the price and be happy with it. But that doesn't mean, again, that you can't go that route. So usually if you reach out, there's more than enough brokers and people in the real estate industry that are more than happy to work with you.
And then are there any conflict of interest type things with people being like local brokers versus, you know what I'm saying? So I think, does that,
Well,
yeah,
No, just because you have a local broker doesn't make them a conflict
A
of interest. The
conflict
conflict
of
of
interest,
interest is
okay.
gonna arise if someone on the board is a broker, someone on the
Right.
board owns a brokerage, or, you know, something like that.
Okay.
That would be the conflict.
But
of
not
interest.
just because
But
they
no, if you
reside
just
in
have
the
your
district or
regular
anything
old
like that.
broker
Okay.
down the street, and that she or he is, you know, well-connected and a good fit, and just happens to be in your district, no, that's perfectly fine. You know,
Okay.
otherwise, if you wanted to get someone from Chicago, that's great too.
James, can you talk about the requirements, if any, around doing an RFP or bidding this out?
Since I'm envisioning these as professional services that are gonna go forward, you know, real estate brokers are licensed, they have to pass tests. So to me, those are professional services, and those are things that are exempt from bidding,
Okay.
that you would not have to do that. That does not mean, though, that you wouldn't, if you want to, you can always do an RFP, right? Just because you're not required to doesn't mean you can't do it. Usually, like I said, when we dealt with a broker way in the past, I think they reached out to about 3 or 4 to see about rates and things of that nature. But as far as legal requirements, no, there's no legal requirement that you have to bid that out.
Yep.
So I guess maybe the question that we need to, would it be something that, I mean, do we decide that now if we want to bid it out, or would we treat it as professional services? I mean, like, at what,
Yeah, I think in my mind, if there's interest in it, then we would ask Brian and his team to go out and investigate, right? Like, look to see if there are brokers out there that do this, eventually come back with some, not necessarily numbers or proposals, but at least have a better sense as to how the process would work. At least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if everyone agrees with that or
I
not.
would agree with that. I think that's probably the best way to approach it.
Yeah, and the way I would approach that is I would reach out and share a little bit of information around the property, the history of the property. I would ask them to share with us really 3 things. Number 1, how would they market the property?
Yeah.
Number 2, what type of valuation services could they provide us? And number 3, what would they charge us,
Yeah.
essentially? Is there anything else outside of those 3 components that would help?
And I think just maybe knowing like what the terms would be, if there's like, with a lot of times when you engage with like a realtor or something, there's an end to that, like within an X number of time, they have to
Yeah.
do that, so we would set those kinds of parameters as well, I assume?
Yes, it's gonna be a little different than the broker. The broker, as you said, they usually have that time period, 180 or 120, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read a residential agreement, but yes. This is different, so it'll be just a fixed service. They're gonna provide it
Okay.
up until most likely, right, when the board authorized, or when the date of award probably is the last day you want them, or the day before. You want them marketing up until the day or day before the award,
Before the bid opening.
or the bid opening, correct.
Okay.
You know, I do think also this would, if we think back to the tentative timeline that you guys talked about a month ago, with meaning that January, setting terms and conditions and awarding a contract in March, this might push that back a little bit. I'm not concerned about that, as long as you guys aren't concerned about that. I feel like pretty confident that we could have some proposals back within the next month that you guys could review maybe in December. And then we would want to give them time to look at this, come up with a plan. So maybe we're not doing what we said we were gonna do in January, but instead it's February, again, I'm not concerned about that, but
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah.
I, without, getting the proposals back, I feel like this is something that would be well worth it.
I think so too.
Good.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I had one other question, just because we're so new into this process. If there is an example or sample RFP for brokers that someone could potentially get a copy over to us so that we can, I would want for whatever goes out to the marketplace to be one message. I would encourage us to consider it one message so that we're receiving apples to apples when feedback comes back in, especially if it's cost related, so that if they're giving us a cost, we're making sure that it is exactly comparable to whatever the other broker is providing as well. So if there's a way to get a sample of some sort, so we know what to ask and/or
Mm-hmm.
if,
Well, I think the three questions that
Yeah.
Brian raised are what you're
Right.
looking for, right? I don't have a model RFP for this because it's not done very often. That doesn't mean it's bad, I want to make sure that's clear. It's just, usually folks, because it's professional, will reach out and get them. That being said, obviously, I can work, if we go down this road, work with the administration to develop those so that you can see them in advance if that's something's gonna go out, if that's something that everybody wants, that's fine, it's not a problem. But I don't think they're gonna be too complicated, because they're really gonna be asking for those, pretty much those three things that Brian had talked about.
I mean, I could, for the companies that, either reach out based upon hearing that this is a road the board wants to go down, or other brokers we find out, I can simply just share with them those three things and say, give us your proposals, and then I'll share all those with the board, and we can have a conversation at December meeting or whatever.
Should that have in there, though, verbiage from Willow Springs as far as zoning and things like that too, in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would share the information around the property that's already publicly available
Okay.
on our website, what we've
So they
communicated.
know who
Yeah.
not to market, or more, I guess a better way to say it is exactly who to market to, based on their parameters.
Good point.
I think the packet, when you give it to them, will have those three things and a little description, history of the property, as well as a picture of the property and things of that nature.
Which honestly, I feel like our website is pretty detailed in terms of the history and everything that encompasses that, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
a good
all out
point.
there for the public.
I
and they
feel
can
like
easily
we
get
have
to
a
that
link on an
link.
email that you were sending out.
Yeah, I feel like I could have something put together by the end of the week and get it out to potential people. And again, hopefully after tonight, we'll have some people reach out with interest.
Yep.
But I mean, I would just chime in, it's not gonna be apples to apples for each one that you get back, even though it's the same three things, because when you're looking at,
They're gonna
like.
look at it differently, or they're gonna have their own flavor on it.
Well, I'm also gonna have different connections and different knowledge and different, a different sphere that they're going to be able to market to. So I think it's I like the idea of here's the three things we want, but I think when looking at it, it's not just going to be like a column thing. It's gonna be very subjective for us to look at, for that, of who, do you have just like a team that's gonna broker it with one fee, or do you have, you have someone that has more like connections or things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be a hard apples to apples comparison.
I mean, I like the idea of putting something on paper, though, that I can send to people that has those,
Yeah.
a more formal version of the questions we're talking
Standardized,
about.
yeah.
Standardize it, yeah, I can.
Yeah, they'll all get the
Could
same
totally have that
information
this
and
week, for sure.
access and same timeline
Yep.
to respond.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have some advice on this, James, but in terms of like, if we get this out to potentially interested brokers by the end of the week, what's a reasonable timeline? 1 week, 2 weeks,
I would
4
give
weeks?
people I think 4 is very generous. I think 2 is fine, it just depends on your timeline. I would do between 2 if you wanted to be real generous, 4.
Okay,
Like one's
but no
usually,
more than
depending on
so.
people, they might not be able to turn it around in a week.
Okay. Maybe, I would, just to keep this train
Yeah.
moving, I would say 2 weeks, is what I would think.
Yeah, because I don't know that they'll make it a huge packet and a big proposal. I mean, there'll be some hopefully meaty information, and then that also will help vet, what people are sending based on what we get back from them, so. But we really are just looking for expertise and,
Yep.
and proficiency and things like that, so. 2 weeks is good.
Well, thank
I'll
you,
start working on
Sean,
Yeah.
Member Kennedy,
Yeah.
for the idea again. little hesitant in the beginning, but it turned out to be a win, I think. I think it's a great
So far.
idea, so, yeah, hopefully, we'll see. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Our next item for review is our updated 2025 10-year life safety survey. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Elbors. And so, as you mentioned, the 10-year life safety survey is presented in a form here that essentially outlines the most recent of our life safety surveys. School districts are required to have these every 10 years. And so, in that process, we are required to hire an architect, and of course, we already have the architects that we work with. And we hire the architect, they go through the building, they look at and identify any of the violations, the conditions of the building that should need to be corrected. And so part of the process is to present this to the board for review. And so you have that today. It's actually split up by by the two buildings, north and south. But at north, the Vaughn building across the street is included in that. And at south, the Corral building is also included in that as well. And so you have all of that list of violations, that updated list of violations that we have on the buildings. We have a total cost there of about $2.3 million roughly for the corrections of those violations. And again, you have that entire list in front of you. And so that is for review tonight. We'll be happy to answer any questions about those. We do have to accept, the board would have to have the board accept that list, essentially as presented at the regular November meeting. And then we go in and then we report to ISB that the board has accepted the list as presented. And then we would proceed and then look at, obviously, correcting some of these issues. Many of them can be corrected with our own building and ground staff. And so we will have them work on those and get those corrected. Some are not correctable by the building and ground staff. And so some of those we would have to bring in contractors and run those as part of, potentially as part of projects. And so we've always looked at those and tried to find where there's an opportunity to bring in the life safety projects that we have in with another project that's going on so that we're able to kind of work those in together. We've been doing that and we'll continue to do that, obviously. But with this updated list, again, we had to share it with the board tonight and then go through and, as I said, start to work on these items. There is one set of items for North Campus that I forget what lines they are, but there was some asbestos that was mentioned in those. That has already been taken care of. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that we don't leave friable asbestos issues around in the district anywhere. And so I had talked to Ed Wright, our architect, about that. Once it was put in on the list, they couldn't just remove it. So we noted it that it has a $0 cost to it because it's already been done. And so I just wanted to make sure that we noted that we are not leaving, friable asbestos around in the district. Anything that comes up with that, we would correct that immediately, and we've done that. And so that being said, Ed, is there anything you would like to add to this at all?
You always cover everything very well, Brian.
Thanks, Ed.
Belabor it any more than we have to. Just kind of a brief overview of what the process is. It's myself and a team of engineers going through all the spaces of the building and just looking at where things are, specifically on my end in terms of really fire code. So over the years, you may have removed a door because it didn't make sense for exiting purposes, how you guys do things, but it was meant to be there for a fire separation. Your team would never know that. The code changed and a louver in the door is not the right height, and so you put in the old one, it didn't meet the new code. They're preventative things in case of an emergency that would help delay the spread of a fire potentially, but they're not things that are actively causing harm or anything like that generally. Small penetration in a wall because you're running cable through the wall because you wanted to run new data lines or something and didn't, close up the hole. So these are things that are pretty typical across the 60-plus districts we work with. I'd say 90% of these things are things that we see everywhere. As Brian said, districts often try and address them as they're doing their projects. So we see something we know is a life safety violation, when we're doing a project, we address it at that time, and that's usually the method of taking care of these things.
An example of that is when we did the project here this year. You'll see this for, I believe it's still South Campus. Some of the walls, for example, don't go all the way up to the ceiling, right? So we did that here at North Campus when we did the project for the classrooms this year, and we'll do that. We'll do more of that next year as well with the lower floors. In addition to that, we changed out, as part of the project at South Campus, a large number of fire-rated doors there as well that were on our list from before. So we're working through those. That was an example of how we work those into those projects, and we'll obviously continue to do that as we go forward.
That was gonna be my question to you, is, so the last time this was done was 2015?
It was approved by the board in 2015, that's correct.
Okay, and so then Ed, from your perspective, you guys would have been working from that whenever we were working on any of the new updates and the new
And
projects?
yes, any project from then until now,
Okay,
if it had any of these items in there, they were addressed, and they've actually been scrubbed off the list
Okay.
from
Right.
2015.
okay.
Like the asbestos that you talked about.
Correct.
So that kind of, what is our time frame to get all this done? Is it just over the next 10 years until we do the study again, or is there more?
There's nothing set in stone.
Okay.
You tend to prioritize them, so you see an A, B, or C. You know, A's are usually a little higher, you try and do those sooner than later. C are sort of lower hanging fruit, but there's nothing set in stone with the state that says you have to have all these accomplished by your next 10 years. Sometimes they're cost prohibitive, depending on what the item is, and you can't get to it because you don't have the funding to do it.
So that actually goes to one of my questions is, I noticed that there's a priority list too, so I was wondering what that priority code means and how that, like, is there a rubric for that, or how is that developed? But even with I'm assuming priority A are our highest priority items?
They're higher, there's a couple on here that are listed as A, but they could be borderline B. Those are trip hazards.
Yeah, I saw
Someone's
that,
walking into a
right.
trip, and if you're evacuating a building, that's potentially an issue.
Okay.
Particularly at this building is where we see some of those. They're a little more challenging to deal with, because
Okay.
they're so threshold to classrooms. But,
Okay.
yeah.
So is there a rubric for the prioritization, and if there?
There's general guidelines
Okay.
within the health life safety code. I could share those with Brian if anyone's interested as to how those are organized.
Okay, but there's no timeline on even our priority As or our most
General guidelines.
guidelines, okay, okay.
A lot of it comes down to also how the projects are funded. And so what I mean by that is, we do have the ability to go out and sell life safety bonds for these. So there's really a couple of ways to do it. Either you're paying for it out of your operating funds, or you are going out and selling life safety bonds. And so if you're out there selling the life safety bonds, they really want you to get these projects done really pretty much immediately. Because you've sold the bonds for it, and so therefore there's a commitment to paying the money back and all of that sort of thing. So that's generally my understanding of how it has worked. But again, you know, we certainly, it is my goal to knock out as much of this as we can here as quickly as we can within the next, you know, few years, that sort of thing. So
Brian, do you know in the 2015 one, how does the 2.2 come out in past? Like, is that kind of average? Is it high? Is it low? Do you have a feeling there?
no, this is actually from the 2015 survey. This is actually a lot less because we've knocked off a number of
Quite a
those
bit.
items that are there. Yeah.
I mean, the number wasn't shocking based on our
Right.
budget and everything. It
Right.
doesn't seem like it's, I don't think we would need to go out to bonds, to your point.
No, I guess the advantage there was a recent change in the law that if you went out for a bond sale for life safety, it would count against your debt service extension base. Now, we won't have a conversation about that tonight, but we're capped on how much we can spend, how much we can pay back annually. And so what they recently did was they changed that law, and I have to go back and refresh my memory of this, so that it doesn't count against that debt service extension base. So there's an advantage there that you can go out and you can sell the bonds and then run the projects, and it doesn't count against your debt service extension base. That being said, you're also borrowing money, just like we did for the current projects. And so there is a component of interest that you're paying back on those. And so there's that piece, and then you can also look at it and say, look, how are we going to tackle these, and can we do it with just the funds within the district that we have available to us.
Especially considering if we end up selling this property and
Yes.
and do more projects, I'm guessing that a lot of these could just naturally get resolved in some of the projects if we, again, sell and do a lot of work to
Right.
buildings.
Yeah, and we'll still keep these, we want to keep these on the radar regardless of the timeline of that,
Yeah.
right? So, because we want to try to see how many of these we can knock out and get them finished here as quickly as possible.
Yeah, okay. This does not include any ADA requirements, right?
No, those are generally not part of the health and life safety side. of the
Because we're
service.
grandfathered in on those.
Yep.
Okay.
And just because the word violation immediately, makes you think,
Right.
something's
Right.
something's
Right.
wrong, we're in trouble or
Right.
something. There's no costs or fines associated to the district
No.
by having violations
No,
like this.
there's no fines, this is an assessment to say, here's the things you should have on your radar based on the condition or whether, like, as we talk about here, a door meets a fire rating, those types of things, that's all it is, but there's no, fine or penalty or anything along those lines.
Part of the law change that Brian was describing, one of the reasons for it is there's a lot of districts that don't have the spending ability to correct these items, so they're trying to find a way to allow for some of these to get addressed, but traditionally, some can't do anything because they don't have the financing to do so.
I mean-
Just have one. Would it be beneficial to cluster the priority items so that we know how much priority A items would total versus B versus C, so that we can kind
Sure.
of just further understand?
Yeah, and these are sort of standardized forms that the state has, but I think one of the versions might actually break it out like that. I'll look at that, but we can do that too. We have it in the spreadsheet, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you can change the one in Iowa's, but if not, we can.
Well, no, I
put- Yeah,
build it in the spreadsheet
Sure.
first before we put it in,
Yeah.
so I can catch that.
Yeah.
Certainly.
We can make that change, and then Ed, you referenced the general guidelines earlier. We can do both of those in time for the November 17th
Yep.
meeting when we bring it back for consideration and approval.
No problem.
And then, when it says zero, does that mean we do it internally? Is that what that means when it says estimated cost?
Which one are you referring to?
I'm sorry,
Caitlin? No, that's fine.
I know you mentioned that some could be done in-house, so I guess
Yes.
that by our own team. So when I'm looking, I can see on
17.
any of these lines,
Number 17.
like with 17, an example, there was just a few that said zero, but I
If
was
they were
like,
zero, those are generally ones we assume are in-house.
okay.
Right.
Because
And again,
It
I
has a
don't-
hold open on the door that shouldn't, you just go and take it off the door.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, there's not that many of those, but I was like looking and thinking that maybe those would be some to put as a priority too for us if there's limited cost available. I know resources is another thing, but, maybe we do our best to try to get at those if we can. Obviously, start with those first.
Sure.
Get them taken care of, and there's a lot to read, so, I mean, I'm
There
gonna,
is.
wanna look at it again too, and I think, yeah, you're right, seeing it, broken down by AB, by the priority level will be really helpful, and then see the amount that way too. Would be great. Thanks, Jeff, for bringing that up.
The only other thing I would add on that is you start to look at these, some make sense when you're doing projects versus
Totally.
others. So because we were taking ceilings down to do a mechanical system and then we knew there were holes in the walls, that's the time to do those because you have the ceiling down and you're doing
Yeah.
all that. But if you're gonna do that work in 2 years, there's no sense to pull it down now and then come back later and pull it down
Right.
again. So there's some
Yeah.
strategic ways to attack this.
Good point.
I just had two other questions. One, so are all the ones with zeros, is that encapsulate all the ones we're doing internally, or do we feel like there's other ones that we can still do internally? I guess the bigger, larger question is how much of that funds, the 2 million, is it 2 million? Okay.
2.2, yeah.
$2.2 million, do we think we can do internally that won't cost that?
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer for that. I would need to talk with our building and ground staff and then have them go through all that, see what they can correct, and then we can, kind of bring some sort of a number back based on that too.
Okay.
What I would say is if we assign a dollar value to it, it's generally because there was something in, like a door, you had to buy a door to do it.
Yeah.
Versus, you can just go over and remove something or
Yeah.
add something. So
Right.
that's the difference between a number and not a number.
Okay.
Okay. And then my only other one was the asbestos one, even though we have it listed here, we're resolving it or have resolved it, we still have to include it on our report to the state, even though we're,
Yeah, it's just the nature of their software, so I did talk to the gentleman downstate who handles this and said just zero it out, and then when they receive it, they get to go through and cross things out that they don't believe or they want clarification on, and you say you just strike it out. And
Okay.
keep it.
okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
So we'll add those two items I mentioned earlier to the packet for 2 weeks from now. We'll bring this back on November 17th for consideration and approval.
All right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Appreciate
Ed.
it. All right, we are on to curriculum and instruction. Our next item is the strategic plan goal 1 update. This also includes the assessment report, advanced placement report, Illinois school report card, and equity journey continuum presentations. Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, last month, actually it was just 2 weeks ago, when Ed talked about the Goal 3 update, I shared kind of the cycle of the year and the way the board gets involved in strategic planning and discussions around the goal updates and the action team process and the strategic plan scorecard, all that stuff. I'm not gonna repeat all that, and instead I'm just gonna jump right into, this month's report is Goal 1, but it also includes our annual assessment report, our advanced placement report, and our Illinois Equity Journey Continuum Report, and our Illinois School Report Card Report. So there's a lot of information, as you could tell by the board packet, but for the new board members, this is a presentation discussion that we do every November, Committee of the Whole. It coincides very nicely with the release of the Illinois School Report Card data, which is also academic data as well. So tonight, this is going to be a presentation led by Dr. Patrice Payne, also Christine Zeman, our coordinator of assessment research, is here as well. And then I think Dr. Rowe is going to participate in this as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Payne.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman, President Alvarez. We are proud to share updates and progress we've made towards Goal 1, which centers on student achievement and growth. Today's presentation is designed to give you a clear picture of where we are, what we've learned, and where we're headed next. As we begin, I want to share what you can expect to take away from our time together. First, we'll start with an update on Goal 1, highlighting both our accomplishments, and our future focus areas as we continue this work. Next, we'll review our 2024 through 2025 standardized assessment data, including results from state assessments and advanced placement exam data. Our aim is to not just look at scores, but at the broader trends, what they reveal about student learning, readiness, and areas for continued growth. We'll also take a look at the 2025 school report card metrics. This report provides a comprehensive view of our district's performance on key indicators such as academic growth, proficiency, and school climate. Understanding these measures helps us see how our efforts translate into state-level outcomes. Finally, we'll review our district's placement on the equity journey continuum, which helps us understand our progress in creating equitable outcomes for all of our students. It's an important tool for reflection and accountability as we strive to ensure every learner is supported and celebrated. Goal 1 focuses on student growth and achievement, and it really captures the heart of our work as a district. Our aim is to provide a comprehensive and innovative education for every student. And when we say that, all means all. To do that, we're focused on 3 key areas. First, we're working to deliver a guaranteed, viable, and rigorous curriculum for all students. That means every student in every classroom has access to high-quality learning experiences that align with our district standards and expectations. Second, we're committed to providing engaging and equitable instructional experiences that reflect our district's vision. This means designing learning that sparks curiosity, promotes collaboration, and honors the diverse strengths and perspectives our students bring to the classroom. And third, we're bringing consistency to assessment and feedback processes. We're using research-based practices and, most importantly, the voices of both students and staff to make sure that how we measure progress and give feedback truly supports learning and growth. Together, these focus areas ensure that every student has both the opportunity and the support to reach their full potential. I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Christine Zeman, our Coordinator of Assessment and Research, who will walk us through various data points and implications.
Hello, thanks for having me. This slide highlights the key metrics our Goal 1 team selected to track our progress. These include the graduation rate, which measures the percentage of students graduating within 4 years, AP and dual credit participation, which reflects how many students are enrolled in advanced coursework, and GPA, which shows the percentage of students earning at least a 2.8 on a 4.0 scale. In previous years, the state administered the SAT to all juniors. Beginning with last year's junior class, all students in grade 11 now take the ACT. The SAT metrics are shown in red to indicate that those measures have been sunset and replaced with new ACT metrics. Using the spring 2025 ACT results as our new baseline, the Goal 1 team analyzed the data and set updated targets aligned to the new accountability metrics. Those targets are shown here in this table, along with targets for our other Goal 1 metrics. This slide presents additional metrics for Goal 1, focused on equity and closing achievement gaps. We previously measured the achievement gap on the SAT between traditionally supported students and under-supported groups. As the state has now transitioned from the SAT to the ACT, these metrics are being recalculated using ACT data, with spring 2025 serving as our new baseline. The third metric examines the opportunity gap in AP and dual credit course enrollments for these same groups. Across all three metrics, LT continues to focus on narrowing these gaps. Reducing disparities is essential to fostering an equitable learning environment where all students, regardless of background, have equal access to academic success. Many of the metrics on our strategic plan scorecard are directly connected to state assessments, so to better understand the data behind those measures, we're now going to take a closer look at the various assessments that informed them. Our participation rates remain exceptionally strong across all state assessments. In spring 2025, over 99% of students completed the English Language Arts Assessment, over 98.6% participated in math, and 98.5% participated in science. These consistently high participation rates reflect our students' commitment and the collective efforts of our staff to ensure every student is represented in our data. The ACT assessments include the pre-ACT 9 secure, the pre-ACT secure, I put a 10 in parentheses to remind us that it is 10th grade that takes that assessment, and the ACT with writing. For state accountability, students take the pre-ACT 9 secure in the spring of 9th grade, the pre-ACT 10 secure in the spring of 10th grade, and the ACT with writing in the spring of 11th grade. The science section of the ACT has replaced the Illinois Science Assessment as part of state testing. The ACT's vertical alignment provides educators with valuable data to establish baseline, monitor academic growth, and measure college and career readiness. As a reminder, this was our first year transitioning back to the ACT, so these results represent true baseline data and no comparisons to prior years are available. The ACT considers students college ready when their section scores meet the ACT college readiness benchmarks. These benchmarks indicate a 50% chance of earning a B or higher and a 75 to 80% chance of earning a C or higher in corresponding first-year credit-bearing college courses. As a reminder, readiness is not fixed, and students scoring below the benchmark can still succeed in college with the right supports. The ELA score that you'll see first on the screen combines English reading and writing scores. This chart shows the percentage of students meeting ACT college readiness benchmarks across English, reading, math, science, and ELA. The majority of our students meet these benchmarks in English, reading, and math, with science being an area for continued growth. Grade 10 pre-ACT benchmark performance gives us a glimpse of students' college readiness trajectory 1 year before the ACT. Students show strong performance in English, and over half demonstrate readiness in math. Reading and science remain areas of focus, and we are addressing these through curriculum review and ongoing professional learning. Grade 9 pre-ACT results establish baseline college readiness indicators for our first-year high school students. Students demonstrate high proficiency in English, and the majority of students meet the benchmarks in math and reading. We continue to design instructional sequences that support each student's growth with the goal of meeting college readiness benchmarks by the end of 11th grade. The ACT uses a set of college readiness benchmarks to indicate a student's likelihood of success in credit-bearing college courses. For state accountability, ISB applies its own performance standards to measure student achievement on the spring ACT. Following recent standard setting, ISB now categorizes performance into 4 levels: below proficient, approaching proficient, proficient, and above proficient. These bands are aligned to the Illinois Learning Standards and reflect a student's mastery of those standards. This chart shows the percentage of 11th grade students in each of those 4 categories for ELA, which combines English, reading, and writing, and math and science on the spring 2025 ACT. Between 18 and 25% of students scored in that approaching proficient category, meaning that while they did not demonstrate full proficiency on this test, they are very close to meeting the standards set forth by ISB. This chart breaks down ACT ELA proficiency rates across different student demographic groups. Proficiency here includes students who scored in the proficient and above proficient performance levels. Students identifying as white, Asian, or 2 or more races show higher proficiency percentages, while achievement gaps remain for Hispanic and Latinx students, Black and African American students, students in our multilingual and special education programs, and economically disadvantaged students. This next chart shows the same data for mathematics. As we see, some student groups show high levels of proficiency, while others, including our Hispanic and Latinx students, Black and African American students, students in our multilingual and special education programs, and economically disadvantaged students remain areas of focus. This chart shows the same data for science. For many of our students, this is the first time they encountered a dedicated science section on a standardized assessment, as the SAT previously embedded these questions within other sections. While some student groups continue to demonstrate high levels of proficiency, others still have some room to grow. New this year, ISB has performance levels for 10th grade. So this chart looks at those performance levels for the grade 10 pre-ACT. This gives us a better sense of what proficiency will look like in grade 11. And you can see that between 16 and 31.8% of students scored in that approaching proficient category. These students will be personally invited to participate in our drop-in ACT prep class that occurs during second semester lunch study halls to support their continued growth. The grade 9 pre-ACT data indicates strong initial performance with 12 to 23% of students in the approaching proficient category. The progress of these students will be monitored to ensure they receive the necessary support to reach proficiency in subsequent years. This chart compares LT student proficiency across grades 9, 10, and 11 in English language arts, mathematics, and science to the state proficiency percentages. LT consistently outperforms the state in all grades and subject areas, demonstrating the strength of our curriculum and the effectiveness of our instructional programs. For the first time ever, ISB is calculating student growth percentiles, or SGPs, at the high school level. A student growth percentile measures individual student academic progress over time by comparing a student's growth to that of peers with similar prior achievement levels. Percentiles range from 1 to 99, with 50 representing typical or average growth. The graphic on this slide compares our district's average student growth percentile on the ACT to the Illinois state averages across subject areas. Our district meets or exceeds the state average in all areas, with grade 10 ELA matching the state average and all other areas surpassing state numbers. This demonstrates the effectiveness of our instructional practices in supporting student growth regardless of where students start. The Dynamic Learning Maps Alternate Assessment, or DLMAA, is administered to students with the most significant cognitive disabilities, typically those with an IQ below 55. It serves as the alternate assessment to the pre-ACT, 9, pre-ACT, and ACT. Students in grades 9, 10, and 11 are assessed in English Language Arts and Mathematics, while 11th graders also completed the science section. At LT, less than 1% of students participate in the DLMAA. This year, we have more than 10 juniors, allowing us to report data publicly for the first time in a few years. This chart shows the percentage of grade 11 students demonstrating proficiency in each subject compared to the state proficiency percentage. As always, our team continues to use DLMAA results to guide instruction, inform program placement, and ensure we are meeting the academic needs of all learners. Access for English Language Learners is an English proficiency assessment administered to all English learners. The test measures student skills in listening, speaking, writing, reading, and provides both individual domain scores and an overall composite score. Access includes 6 proficiency levels. The chart on this slide shows the percentage of our multilingual learners who achieved levels 5 and 6 over the past 5 years. The second set of bars shows the same data at the state level. LT outperformed the state of Illinois in 2025 and has seen a significant increase in the percentage of students scoring at levels 5 or 6. This reflects ongoing efforts to strengthen supports for English learners. It's important to note that the population of students taking the Access assessment changes each year, as students who reach the exit score of 4.8 no longer participate in the test the following year. Once a student scores that 4.8, they exit the English Learner Program. In the spring of 2025, 13% of our students receiving multilingual services earned a score of 4.8 or higher. The percentage of students exiting has increased over the last 5 years due to the collective efforts of our entire school community. As we look at the overall picture, there are several key takeaways from this year's data. This was our initial year administering the full ACT assessment series, and our students established a strong baseline of college readiness across all subject areas. This gives us a solid foundation to build upon moving forward. Our growth results are very promising. On average, our student growth percentiles meet or exceed the state's in every subject, showing that our instructional practices are helping students make meaningful progress regardless of where they start. Our district outperforms the state in proficiency rates on both the ACT series and the Access assessment for English learners, which is evidence of the strong teaching and supports in place across grade levels. At the same time, mathematics stands out as our primary opportunity for improvement. We're continuing to examine our curriculum alignment, instructional strategies, and student support to strengthen outcomes in that area. While our overall results are above the state, we continue to see achievement gaps across demographic groups. Addressing these disparities remains a key focus as we work towards equitable growth and success for all students.
I wonder if that'd be a good place to pause before we go into the next one, which is the advanced placement. So, strategic plan goal 1, overall assessment report. Questions or thoughts for the team?
Well, I just want to say, great. I love to see specifically, you know, like my passion has been like the EL students, and that was really significant growth. So that was, you know, I think amazing. Like to see like it be more than double. So I think that kudos to everybody here for, you know.
Yeah, and thank you all for your support. We couldn't do that work without the support of you guys.
I mean, like what a difference. I mean, from where we were.
Think about the co-teaching ML program that's been in
Right.
place for 4 years now, 4 years, 3 years now.
Because I think this was
That
the first
contributes
year.
to this.
Right, I think this was the first year we were actually going to see that outcome of that based upon how delayed it was with the catch up on it. So I would say that's amazing. So I was really excited to see that. But I did have one question just for clarification on page 29 of our packet, which is the assessment participation. When you're looking at that, just to have an explanation as to why you have different participation based upon different categories and not 100% participation.
Great question. So we try to assess every single student, but there are some students who are absent on the day that we test and on the day that we do makeups. So we just don't get them. If they don't have a state-approved reason, they will then have to test as a senior in order to meet the graduation requirements. There are some students who took maybe the first 2 sections of the ACT and then left. They just decided they were done. They didn't want to do it for various reasons, so they count in our participation for like English language arts, but they wouldn't count in math or science. That also includes DLM participation, so sometimes a student might not take all parts of the DLM just based on their specific needs and if their teachers or their outplacement school are able to get it in. So it just, it kind of just varies based on the different factors.
So if a student's not, it doesn't, like, this wouldn't count for the students that are not required, that do not have to take it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there are certain codes that we can put in. For example, if a student is hospitalized on the test date, we code that with ISB, and that does not impact our participation rate. If they refuse to take it, that does impact our participation rate. So it just varies based on the circumstance and the situation of each individual student.
Thank you for that explanation.
I was thinking the same thing, so yeah, thanks for
I mean, I
asking
know
that.
we've touched on it before, but I
Right.
couldn't remember, why that reason was. Just a little refresher is great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And also really good job getting that transition from SAT to be able to get everyone prepared. And I know you guys did a lot of scrambling internally for that, so I think it's great. And obviously, we had good results still with our students' scores for their ACT tests, so I really appreciate that. I know that was kind of a big transition
It was,
to make.
but we did it.
And you guys handled it really well.
Just a couple highlights too. I really appreciated when you were talking about the pre-ACT 10, I don't remember what slide it was, but you were focused on reading and science, and you were talking about how, you're going to look at curriculum reviews and professional development. I think that targeted approach is extraordinary. I think our numbers across the state look really great, as of course I think we would expect, because we have some pretty phenomenal teachers and administrators in our district that are doing the amazing work for our kids. I really like the idea of the drop-in ACT prep invitations for kids that are struggling. I know we have work to do in some of our proficiency levels. I was hoping kind of the same thing with our multilingual learners, that now that we have co-taught classes, that we'll begin to start seeing some of our students that are identified as having special education needs, see those numbers start increasing. So, I personally just love hearing the things that we see that we can do better at, right? And never feeling comfortable with the work that we're doing to continue to strive to be better. I guess the only question that I had, well, 2 things. One, and I don't know if the rest of the board feels this, and if I'm the only one, then skip it, but when we talked in the very beginning about our scorecard metrics, I know throughout the presentation we always reference what the state percentages are, but I'm almost wondering if within our metrics we could have a number that compares us to the state as well with these metrics, just so it kind of gives us a comparable to not only what we're doing internally and what our numbers are with our strategic plan, but in comparison to what, I think it always, at least for me, I always love to compare to see what we're doing with other people.
You mean on the website?
Well, in the presentation, or, I suppose it could even translate to the website too.
You're talking specifically about the strategic plan scorecard, though. Like,
Yes.
how could we?
Yeah, the scorecard
on the
metrics.
scorecard, how could we highlight the state average or
Yeah.
the state?
For some of them, right? Graduation rate's an easy
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
We have that. APT dual credit participation, I don't know if there is one for that. I would assume that there is.
Yeah.
There is, we found that for some reason, the state will double count kids in that calculation, so we end up calculating it ourselves.
Okay.
But some of these are definitely in there.
Yeah.
Just made note of it. We can look into it and see.
Yeah.
Maybe there are definitely some metrics that would be able to pull a state average and
Yeah.
highlight that.
Just to, again, you do it throughout the presentation, but I think for the public, it's also helpful to know where we're standing in comparison to the rest of the state. And then the only other question I had was related to the DLM. That was one of the one areas that we did not reach above the state. I know it's a very limited population number of students. Do we have any understanding or reasoning behind that number?
I would just say it's really individualized. These are students who have significant learning
Yeah.
difficulties and among other typically, a lot of other factors that are playing into their, needs in special education. So I would say I would have to look at each individual student, which we certainly wouldn't do in a public format.
Yeah. I imagine, right, it's such a small number that it could be skewed pretty quickly based on some individual students.
Yes, I would say, again, all data, any standardized assessment we try to use as a one point of data in comparison or in conjunction with others.
Yeah.
That is even more
Sure.
the case for a student who has significant disabilities. We're looking at monitoring very specific goals for them and a lot of other data that we're comparing their growth against themselves, really,
Yeah.
rather than comparing them to a larger group. But certainly something for us to look at when we think about the bigger picture of what type of curriculum are we providing to students in those classes for English and for math.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about, you know, if they're 50% or more, it doesn't or lower than 50%, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful in a college environment. I think that resonates really well with me and probably my kids that are not great test takers, right? Doesn't mean that they can't be successful in the next steps, and I'm sure that's probably true in a lot of those DLM assessments as well. So, yeah, I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into capturing all this data. It's a lot of information, and I know a lot of work has gone into it, not only at your level, but with our teachers. So,
I have a question with the ACT drop-in invitations. Will that go out to the parents too, or just the students? Or
Yeah, so what we have done in the past with that invitation is we've pulled a list of all of the kids who are in that approaching category for either English or math, as well as any student who's on a fee waiver. And we send them and their parents an email with all of the information. And then we've also had their math and English teacher personally invite them by handing them a flyer that talks about it. We found that a lot of people ignore the email, but when a teacher is handing you something and saying, hey, I think you should really do this, and here's why, they're more likely to come. So we've had good success with that, and that is my plan to continue again this year.
thank you.
all right.
Yeah.
Something
Thank you.
to
Rock and roll.
EP, I think it was.
Yep.
Is that where the advanced placement? Okay.
All right, so the next section of this report examines advanced placement exam participation and pass rates among students who take AP assessments. The number of students taking at least one AP exam reached a new high in the spring of 2025. Even more encouraging, 93% of those students earned a passing score on at least one of their exams, demonstrating both increased participation and strong performance. LT saw an increase in the number of exams administered again last year. Of the 2,771 AP exams administered, 91% resulted in a score of 3 or higher. To put that into context for you, each AP exam typically earns 3 college credit hours, and with the average cost per credit hour in Illinois just about at $510, it's estimated that students and families collectively saved just under $3.9 million in potential tuition costs.
Right.
So the next slide provides a look at the history of AP exams at LT from 1998 to 2025. Over this period, we've seen steady growth in the number of AP courses offered, the number of students participated, and the total exams administered. Most importantly, as participation has increased, the percentage of students earning passing scores has also risen. This demonstrates not only expanded access to rigorous coursework, but also strong performance outcomes over time.
Now I'd like to turn our attention to a specific area of work under Goal 1. Dr. Rowe, our Director of Equity and Belonging, will share updates on our partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. She'll also explain how we have rebranded the name of this program to better reflect the ownership and commitment we take in this work with our students. This is an important example of how we are actively creating equitable opportunities and ensuring that every student has access to rigorous, meaningful learning experiences.
Thank you, Dr. Payne. I'm very appreciative of this opportunity to be able to share with our board and the community about our progress in this most important work. Our strategic plan, our goals are the guiding principles that we're using to shape our work here, all of which we know is equity work. As we continue to remove barriers and obstacles, we've made strides in creating greater access to all levels of courses that are offered here at LT, and to also provide opportunities to ensure that students can be successful once they have been able to access these academic spaces. Last year, we were able to create supported study hall classrooms where students were able to be in space with an AP teacher that could provide them with specific support. We use this feedback we also received from teachers and students and administrators in order to improve the resources and the experiences that they had. Access LT is our way of focusing this work. More than a study hall, we are now able to strategically place students that are new to AP in these classrooms, where their teachers are able to build community and are able to provide academic resources and support that are specific to their AP journey. All of the students here are in AP in these classes. We are also engaging with the student services team who can share information and opportunities to this targeted audience, again, providing them with encouragement that can help them to reach their specific goals. Access LT is our overarching goal, working to remove barriers and obstacles. One tool in our toolbox that we have used now for 5 years is the Student and Staff Survey tool through our partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. The EOS mission is to strengthen educator and system leader capacity to break down barriers to increase access, belonging, and success in rigorous college and career prep secondary school courses for students of color and low-income students, so they may thrive in their post-secondary pursuits and life goals. This survey is given once a year and has provided us with a consistent platform and process to help identify students who have not been registered to take AP or dual credit courses thus far. The annual survey data we receive provides us with information about students and the barriers they experience that may keep them from taking more rigorous courses, while also allowing students to identify the resources they would need to level up. Teachers also have the opportunity to identify students they feel are ready to take this next academic step. On this next slide, you'll find the Fall 2025 opportunity data. This chart details the participation of our 11th and 12th grade students in both AP and dual credit courses. Currently, 479 low-income as well as students of color in grades 11 and 12 currently participate in AP and dual credit courses, with a current participation rate of 72% overall. When looking at the chart, it provides detailed participation rates and the number of students to add to various racial and income segments. You will also see a number which represents the actual number of students. 2 bars are blocked out or are blank since the number of students reported is less than 10. And for confidentiality purposes, we do not share aggregate data for students that are less than 10. Our goal is to increase the participation rate to 79% across all demographic groups, which would mean the addition of another 51 students. Having this data via the EOS survey has helped us to better understand where we have gaps as we work to better outreach to our students, to provide an explicit invitation. And one way we do this is through our Level Up Lunch. Here, students are invited in to learn more about course options from members of our team and also to hear personal stories from other students that have made the decision to level up to dual credit or AP. While not required, many of our students in our EOS cohort choose to take the corresponding AP exam. Of the 58 EOS students last school year, 65 exams were taken. 73.3% of those exams resulted in a passing score of 3 or higher. This is an increase from the previous 2 years. On this slide, a graph shows the distribution of scores earned by students that were identified by the EOS survey and took an AP exam. Not only is the pass rate high as shown on the previous slide, but many students are achieving 3, 4s, or 5s, indicating they were very prepared. The percentage of students earning a 1 has also decreased in the last 2 years. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Payne, who will continue the presentation.
We thought it was very important to pause and view this year's update in context. Sometimes the numbers are most meaningful when we see them as part of a bigger story. To illustrate how far this work has evolved, we've taken 3 snapshots across time. If we go back to 2006, for example, we had 6 dual credit opportunities, 5 partnered with College of DuPage and 1 with Triton College. By comparing that to 2024 and 2025, we have grown leaps and bounds, and we can better understand the growth, progress, and continued focus of our work in supporting student achievement, equity, and access to rigorous coursework. We currently, this year, have 18 COD courses, College of DuPage courses, with 2,277 students enrolled. 3 Triton courses with 330 students enrolled, 3 Moraine Valley courses with 111 students enrolled, 6 Indiana University courses with 570 students enrolled, and 2 Embry-Riddle courses with 69 students enrolled. That means that 3,357 of our students are earning both high school and college credits simultaneously, thus giving them a head start on post-secondary education. All in all, and this is our next slide, our advanced placement results from spring 2025 show some very exciting trends. First, AP participation reached an all-time high in district history. A total of 1,530 students took 2,771 exams this past spring, reflecting our ongoing efforts to provide access to rigorous coursework for all students. Second, our students continue to achieve exceptional results. 91% of our students earned scores of 3 or higher, 66% of our students scored 4 or higher, and 29% achieved the highest score of 5. These results highlight both the dedication of our students and the high quality instruction they are receiving. Finally, it's important to note our equity-focused work through the Access LT program in partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. This initiative is designed to break down barriers and increase participation in rigorous coursework for students of color and students from low-income backgrounds. Programs like this ensure that more students have the opportunity to engage in challenging coursework and achieve at high levels. Together, these results show that we are expanding access, supporting student success, and promoting equity in advanced learning opportunities. I think this is a good part to pause. Any questions or thoughts about the work thus far?
I love the name, Access LTs. How long, like, when did that go into effect, or how long did that take to?
We've been doing the work, but our constant talk has been how are we helping kids to act? I mean, it really comes from our strategic plan work.
Yeah.
And so
It's
we just didn't want people to focus on taking a survey, because that's not really the work that we're doing. It's everything else that comes beyond that. And it just then opens up how we're looking at things. So it's just really organically happened.
That's great. Love it. And then this might be a Monday brain problem. It's Monday night. But on slide 52, the exam historical comparison, those years that were selected, like, how did we pick those years? Is that because those were the years that we brought on the new courses? Is that how it got selected?
To be honest with you, the 1998, 2006, 2016 were years that Scott had data from.
Okay. So we are missing data on those other years.
I'm sure they exist somewhere.
Okay.
The AP reporting platform only goes back 5 years.
Got it.
So Scott had those historical years, and this is honestly a slide he put together last year that I just added
Got it.
2025 to.
Yeah. And
So Not a great answer, but that's the answer.
There's like a lot of.
And it just shows the trend, right? over
Yeah.
the last
Yeah, no,
27
I
years or
appreciate
so.
that.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, Christine, but I'm just thinking about right now as we're talking about this. This was our first year, this past year for our AP African American Studies class. And the kids did so well on that final. And again, the kids came, a lot of kids were identified through that. They shared that they wanted to participate in that class. And academically, in terms of their grades, they did very well. And in terms of their scores, they did exceptionally well for,
Awesome.
so.
Talk about access and making things available. So that's fantastic. I'm excited to hear that. Thank you. And then just, I'll only put a plug in that, and I sometimes wrestle with the AP dual credit because I really also believe in here and the now and being in the moment of other classes and into the college. But I will tell you firsthand, speaking from experience, that it does save money on the at the end of the day when they have that credit that transfers over. It is, I know a lot of firsthand stories of people who have experienced tremendously huge savings as they've gone on for their college career or beyond. Everything that goes on post-secondary, so.
If I can just respond to that sentiment, that is not a rare sentiment when it comes to AP and dual credit. And so I just want to respond in a way that has nothing to do with the test itself. But there's just so much research that speaks about the importance of students just having that experience and how it is so beneficial. Just taking the course, if they take the course with no intention to take the exam, the experience itself sets them up so positively in terms of comparing with their peers who have never taken an AP course and how it just sets them up to be successful in college. And so that experience itself is so important for students,
appreciate
test
that.
aside.
Yeah, 85% of colleges and universities say that AP experience, whether or not they take the test, plays a role in the admissions decision. And there's a lot of research about how students who take the class and even get a 1 are way more likely to be successful in college, to graduate.
To want to continue to do it, to have
Yes.
that experience and that foundation underneath them, so, yeah,
Because
that's
it's about the
awesome.
skills they learn. It's
Yeah.
about the self-advocacy, the study skills, the perseverance,
Time management.
the advocating for yourself.
Okay. That's awesome.
Well, as many of us here have children at LT too, I'd like to say kudos to you guys for all the hard work. My kids, both my middle kids, they actually graduated early because of taking those extra courses, college courses. So, and my son is currently double majoring because of the same reason. He was only like a credit shy of Spanish. So, and I'd like to go back to as far as how the strategic plan goes, also to the feeder districts as well. So some of the feeder districts are also teaching them high school courses. So by the time they get here, they're already in AP classes. So thank you so much for, I know it's not easy, but it pays off. And you're right, it does save a lot, because I saved half a semester this year, so.
Yeah. It makes a big
But
difference.
thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
I guess the only, oh, no, go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say yes and yes and yes, and, the Level Up lunch, you may have shared this with us before, but I love the whole concept
Yeah.
of Level Up. Is that offered from freshman year on, or tell us a little bit more about that?
So once the students, the teachers take the survey, and that helps us to identify students. The students take the survey, and they kind of have certain indicators that tell us, like, yes, I'm ready, sign me up now. That we kind of go through, so our team is literally getting ready now to look at the students that we've identified that feel like they would be ready to move into the next, like, a higher level. And again, we don't always want to focus in on that you have to take AP. Some of the work when we're looking at students, it can be, hey, it's one more way for us to go, hey, maybe this student should move from a prep level class to an Excel level class. They want to go into a more rigorous class. That's that invitation that Christine was saying of personally to connecting with kids. And so this is just one more way for us to pause and make sure that we're slowing down, to make sure that we're reaching out to students. So the lunch is that way. So once we've taken the results from the EOS survey identified some students. We want to personally invite them in. It's really cool with our Access LT supported classroom. Some of those kids and teachers will come and share their stories because they went through that. Like, hey, you can do it. So that's become our culture of inviting our students, again, to share their journey with other kids. So each year we have students come in and again, share and support new kiddos. And then it's great having all of our counselors and our leadership team there sitting down, eating pizza, saying, hey, this might be a great course for you. What do you think? What are your interests? So it's very joyful.
I think those supported study halls are, I mean, that's huge, right? Like, if I'm nervous, first time I'm going into that, if through those conversations you can say, we're not just gonna throw you in there and expect you to swim, we're gonna give you the support that you need to, I think that's awesome. Our partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools has been 5
This
years?
year, 5.
So I just thought that was interesting because, you know, there's the Accelerated Placement Act that was put in place, last year, which really, we've been doing that work well before the law was put in place. But if you look at our trends of our AP kids taking it and them scoring a 3 or higher over the last 5 years, that number has significantly gone up. And I know you shared some data with that, but do we feel like there's a strong correlation between the work that we're doing with EOS and all the work that we're doing with our scores and our numbers?
I would always say just EOS is just another opportunity for us to pause and take a look at our kiddos.
Yeah.
And then the separate thing is all the work
All the
that we're
work that we
doing.
do on top of that, right?
So I don't know if you all want to share anything on
Yeah.
that.
I would echo that. Equal Opportunity Schools gives us the formula to make sure that students are not slipping through the cracks and that we're doing a systemic approach in identifying students. But the work is happening in the classrooms. And it is not just giving students this opportunity, but making sure that we're providing the appropriate supports so that they can excel in things such as the Level Up Lunch and the supported study halls are perfect examples. And those two events themselves, Dr. Rose being modest, but that Level Up Lunch was powerful because we invited former first-time AP students who then sat at tables with students and shared their experiences. And so much that has to do with student success. It's not about students being inappropriately placed in advanced courses. Students are placed in those courses because their performance has shown that they were more than capable. But because of confidence and maybe not knowing those pathways exist, those students were slipping through the cracks. So the students are successful because they were always going to be successful, but they didn't know that that opportunity existed for them.
That's incredible.
That's a great way of saying it. I mean, this whole AP section for me has just been like, shit, I mean, it's great.
I'd also like to add that we've done a lot of work in the last couple of years with our associate schools on that placement initially, and I think that is also reflected in this work. I don't want to leave that out because that's been a huge part of what we've done through the strategic plan and through the curriculum office and through Dr. Tyrell's work. So I do think that plays a role in our AP data as well.
I just want to share one other thing. A lot of things have to do with people's confidence because sometimes kids can hear this is really hard, and so then they're fearful of taking a risk, where some families, this is like a part of their culture and that they do that. So even when we have those conversations about AP, we have to recognize that story is different for different kids and their families. And so I think so many of us who sit here can think of specific students on our mind. I'm thinking of one in particular who this was their senior year and that was their goal and they're doing so well. But the messages that we kind of share, like this is so rigorous, they don't see themselves that they belong there. And then for us tapping them, and this is just again one other way for us to stop and pause and say, be intentional about asking them, and that this time a lot of our kids are saying yes. So again, our counselors do a lot of work, our teachers do a lot of work. This is just another pause to invite. And again, those kids are ready and they are doing very well.
That's great.
We only have about 50 more slides.
One more leg, right? All right, here we go.
All right, next we're going to shift our focus to the Illinois School Report Card. The report card is published annually for every public school in Illinois. The Illinois School Report Card includes several key sections that provide a comprehensive view of each school. These sections include the school snapshot, academic progress, school environment, students, accountability, teachers, administrators, and support personnel, school highlights, and the equity journey continuum. Each year, the Illinois State Board of Education assigns every public school in the state one of 5 designation levels. These designations reflect overall school performance based on factors like academic achievement, graduation rates, and school quality indicators. The 5 levels are exemplary, commendable, targeted support, comprehensive support, and intensive support. Exemplary schools are in the top 10% statewide. Commendable schools perform well overall with no underperforming student groups, and the other 3 designations identify schools that need increasing levels of state support. This year, LT received a commendable designation, recognizing our strong overall performance and ongoing work to ensure every student group continues to grow and succeed. This slide shows how the Illinois State Board of Education calculates each school's annual designation. At the high school level, the designation is based on several key indicators that together provide a comprehensive view of school performance. These indicators include English, mathematics, and science proficiency, graduation rate, English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, the school climate survey, and 9th grade on track. Each of these indicators contributes a set percentage to the overall designation score, allowing the state to evaluate not just how well students perform academically, but also how effectively schools support attendance, engagement, and long-term success. This slide highlights Lyons Township's performance on the key academic indicators that contribute to our school designation: English language arts, mathematics, science, graduation rate, and the English learner progress to proficiency metric. The proficiency measures for ELA, math, and science include results from both the ACT and the Dynamic Learning Maps alternate assessment to ensure all students are represented. Our proficiency percentages place LT among the top performing high schools in Illinois, with ELA proficiency in the 90th percentile, mathematics in the 89th percentile, and science also in the 89th percentile statewide. We continue to maintain a high graduation rate while closely monitoring the growth of our multilingual learners to ensure all students have the support they need to succeed. Next, we'll look at the school quality and success indicators, which provide additional context beyond academic performance. Chronic absenteeism is one area we continue to address as it is a challenge faced by schools across the nation. At the same time, our school climate survey shows strong participation, reflecting high levels of engagement and feedback from students, and our 9th grade on track rates remain strong, demonstrating that students are successfully progressing toward graduation. Together, these indicators help us understand not just academic achievement, but also the broader conditions that support student success. This slide highlights our areas of growth and areas of decline on the Illinois School Report Card. Assessment data is not listed on this slide, as this year's data includes baseline ACT data. On the growth side, school climate survey participation increased, and the percentage of 9th graders considered on track by ISBE's definition rose slightly. In terms of decline, the graduation rate decreased very minimally. English learner progress to proficiency fell by 3.11 points, and the percentage of students chronically absent rose by 1.32%. About 73% of our English learners are considered long-term, meaning they've been in an EL program for 5 years or more. After 5 years, students are expected to reach proficiency within a single school year. That's a high bar and impacts that EL progress to proficiency metric. In response to chronic absenteeism, we have launched an attendance campaign in collaboration with our PTABIC, hopefully I got that right, reflecting our commitment to improving attendance and supporting all students in their academic success. Next, we'll turn to the Equity Journey Continuum, which highlights our ongoing efforts to ensure all students have access to high-quality learning experiences and the supports they need to succeed.
Thank you, Christine. The Equity Journey Continuum is an annual informational tool to help districts view their data through the lens of equity. It identifies gaps in student achievement, opportunities, and supports by analyzing data that districts already collect and report to ISBE. This is the 3rd year of the inclusion of the Equity Journey Continuum, and this informational tool assists in tracking progress towards closing gaps in student achievement, opportunities, and supports ISB utilized national research and examples from other states to provide a meaningful data analysis tool for all school districts. This year, the Equity Journey Continuum utilized data from the 2023-2024 school year. It is important to note this is not the same year's data presented at the beginning of the presentation. This year's assessment and report card data will be reflected on next year's Equity Journey Continuum. The Equity Journey Continuum looks at 3 data areas: student learning, learning conditions, and elevating educators. Student learning utilizes data about student achievement, English learner proficiency, and former EL data, graduation rates, and access to AP, as well as dual credit courses. The learning condition element considers expulsion and suspension rates, student attendance, and climate survey results. The Elevating Educators measure looks at educator, student, and administrator demographics, teacher education and evaluation, and teacher qualifications. ISB utilizes a series of formulas to calculate a level 1 through 4 in each of the 3 categories for each school district. Level 1 indicates that the district has large equity gaps in that area, while a level 4 signifies minimal equity gaps. For LT, the Equity Journey Continuum identified moderate gaps in student learning, moderate gaps for learning conditions, and minimal gaps for elevating educators. The work outlined in our strategic plan is continuing to help guide our work as we actively seek to not just identify gaps, but systemically work to create equitable access as well as opportunities. And at this time, I'll pass it back over to Dr. Payne.
So we're going to go over some key takeaways from our school report card, which gives us a comprehensive view of our district's performance. First, we earned a commendable summative designation, meaning there are no underperforming student groups and our graduation rate is above 67%. This recognition reflects the strong, consistent progress our students are making. Our students achieved an exceptional 95.54% graduation rate, demonstrating that nearly all students are successfully completing their high school education. In terms of academic proficiency, our students continue to exceed state expectations, 72.48% in ELA, 67.56% in science, and 62.39% in math. These results show that our curriculum and instruction are preparing students well for future success, but also shows that we have some work to do for sure to ensure that all of our students are meeting and exceeding state benchmarks. We also see strong student engagement. Nearly 99% of ninth graders are on track for graduation, and 96% of students have completed the climate survey, showing high levels of both academic progress and participation in sharing their voice. Finally, the Equity Journey Continuum shows moderate or minimal gaps across indicators. While this demonstrates important progress, it also highlights that our work to close opportunity gaps and ensure equitable outcomes for all students must continue to be a priority. Overall, these results reflect the hard work that's happening here at LT. I'm going to go to the next slide. We're going to end this presentation by sharing action steps we are taking for this school year. To ensure a guaranteed, viable, and rigorous curriculum, we are continuing our curriculum review work this year. Our senior core and elective courses are undergoing phase 1 of the curriculum review process. These teams will work to create unit maps, rubrics, and audit assessments to assure that our summative assessments are varied and are aligned with standards and supported by formative assessment learning opportunities. Our PLCs will utilize the planning portion of their meetings to continue their curriculum review work or to further their work on assessment design and alignment for those teams who have completed phase 1. We have also adopted a problem-solving 3-part structure to better leverage our weekly PLC time that uses problem-solving time to identify problems of practice teachers are observing in their classrooms that guide instructional shifts. And then that is followed by a planning time that further allows for specific curriculum review work to be completed. LT is in its 5th year of partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. As a planning team, we have put into place a more intentional approach to support our students who are in the program. We have intentionally placed them in study halls, which has been shared before, so that those study halls serve as an affinity space and an area in which students are able to network and build community with other students undergoing a very similar first-time experience. As we spoke earlier in the presentation, we are proud of the exponential growth that we've seen in our co-taught classes, both ML and special education co-taught classes, which means that we are doing the work to provide our students with inclusive access to rigorous learning. Finally, we are working to expand our career pathways. We are specifically looking to grow radio, broadcasting, cooking, and related culinary arts, apparel and textile fashion, engineering, technology, cosmetology, health sciences, and automotive technology. We should be able to submit a health sciences pathway this year or next year, in addition to others mentioned. We are right on the cusp of having a new pathway. And so I will just bring us to the last slide and share that our action steps for strategy 3 are twofold. We want to build consistency in how we assess student learning when we're talking about assessments, and also how we provide feedback to students in response to instructional practice. The first action step is to develop formative assessment data protocols for our PLC teams. The second action step focuses on providing responsive support to our PLCs. We've really hit the ground running this year by revamping our PLC structure with that three-prong approach: problem solving, planning, and then having space for teams to be able to discuss logistics that are just time sensitive. And so thankfully our instructional coaches have been really involved in providing supports to our PLCs, and so they actually create PLC guides in which all of our teams are together working on the same problem-solving cycle to ensure that we're providing student-centered support and using that time to make sure that we're actually discussing students. So all in all, LT has a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of amazing work that's happening, but we are not shy about the work that still needs to be done. And so that's the end of our presentation.
A lot of slides. Dr. Rowe, very appreciate it. And Christine, thank you so much.
So just a couple notes. We take last Thursday, we posted on the website the Illinois School Report Card data. After tonight, tomorrow, we will post this live stream, this presentation, plus this slide deck, so that, and throughout the year, I will get questions a lot around academic achievement and how we're doing, right? And I will always say, the best thing to do is watch this presentation, because it's when the board really dives into this, and here's all the information. Obviously, we'll share all the details as well. Next week, Patrice and Christine will be at the LTCAC meeting doing this topic, probably a much shorter version of this presentation. We usually try to keep those presentations about 20 minutes or so. So, but again, we want all this information to be readily accessible to our community, and it will be on the website. So.
Appreciate that, especially because the context is so important. I think, again, you look at a slice of data points, and you don't understand always what you're reading or seeing. So we get a lot of times there's a lot of misinterpretation of that information. So it is really important to get all of the context. And if there's any questions, we know where to reach you guys.
For sure.
Thank you.
I guess to that point, I just had a couple questions. One was about our graduation metrics. And just point of clarification, I think I know this answer, but I think it's also important to hear it. If I'm a student who is quote-unquote met my graduation requirements, but I'm looking to go into the 1822 transition program, does that impact our graduation rates at all?
ISB calculates a 4, 5, and 6 combined graduation rate.
Okay.
But the 4-year graduation piece of that has a greater weight in that formula than the 5 and the 6 year. So yes, a student going into that program
Good.
does impact.
Okay, that's what I thought. But again, I don't think it's we're looking at huge percentages or changes, but it's an important factor, I think, for everybody to just keep in mind. And then my only other one, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but our overall summative rating, we increased our scores, but because everybody else did at a higher rate, is the only reason that we didn't get the exemplar rating again this year. Is that fair to say?
That's accurate.
Yep.
Okay.
And
We were right on that line again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our overall score went up, but because it is a comparative metric, everyone else went up more, and we were no longer at 10%.
Which is
The state
extraordinarily frustrating. I get it.
It's like, yeah,
What was
they're
the data again
dangling
on that?
it.
The bar was 92.9 or 92.8, and we were 91.9. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't have those memorized, but the state recognizes that there's a flaw in this system because 70% of schools, or that's the last number I heard, 70% are commendable. So it's not really doing a good job of sorting schools, and they are in the process of revising this system. So I'm pretty sure next year when we're up here, we're going to be telling you about a whole new system.
Yeah.
They're looking to kind of do a better job of getting schools in
Capturing the data.
categories, so
Yeah.
you don't have 70% of your schools in commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really isn't very telling at all, is it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's helpful to know, so thank you. And again, I'd echo what everybody else has said. I know there's a absolute ton of work that goes into this, and, but I know for me, it's extraordinarily important and impactful, the information that you present to us, so that we, have a very clear idea of where we're at and where we want to continue to push ourselves, so, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
That gets a clap,
That's
for
right.
sure, thanks.
There you go.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. We're good. All right. Our next item then is our board discussion, enhancing connections with the LTHS community. Excuse me. Almost choked there for a second. So again, board member Lopez and I attended our enhanced community. I know I may need one.
Might need one.
Our enhanced community chat on Tuesday, October 28th. While we only had one person attend, it was, in my opinion, a valuable and engaging evening with at least one takeaway about the signage at South Campus. But again, I think despite our continued low attendance at these community chats, I do believe that the forum remains an important avenue for community engagement and open dialogue, and I recommend that we continue to offer these sessions as part of our outreach efforts. That's a big push for us, and I think we're all pretty passionate about that. To further encourage community members to participate, whether it's through our community chats, our LTCIC meetings, or regular board meetings, again, and we had somebody come speak tonight, which I think, again, that just helps gives us information for what the community is looking for. So I guess I'll open it up to Member Lopez or others. Feel free to add any additional comments or reflections. But I think, again, while we may not have the numbers that we're hoping for, maybe that's a sign that things are going well. I don't know, but it's also, I think a valuable opportunity for our community members to come out and share. So I don't know if you had anything else you wanted
No,
to
I
share on
agree,
that.
President Alvarez. It's just one of those things that, like we said before, it's good and it's bad. I mean, in a way that we didn't have that many people there, but that shows we're doing a good job of, good job up here, taking care of things for the school, so.
With LTCC in person and that in person, does it make sense to maybe try to do one electronically? Teams or Zoom, where more people, because, sometimes it's just difficult for people to be in person.
Eating like one of the chats as a Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, try that. I mean, I've told Tim this. I think it's important that you guys keep this structure in place. This is now 4 years in a row. It's a quarterly rhythm. You never know when you're going to want to have that, right? And so I would wholeheartedly agree to keep it going. Plan one for quarter 3. If we wanted to do a Zoom one instead, we could do that too.
Well, did you say LTCAC was Zoom? I
No,
didn't understand
since
that.
that's in person, this is in,
Okay.
we're doing these outreaches, everything's in
Giving
person,
another
and sometimes
format.
it's difficult that, try
To
another
get on
format
campus.
that, yeah.
Or even maybe a hybrid, right? Like we
Yeah.
could have people that come in person and we have it streaming and give a presentation or open it up for conversation. I think it's worth, anything is worth, and, more ways to continue to engage with our community is important.
And this is something you guys could talk about if you're still interested in doing the workshop on
Yeah.
January 6th, the IASB. You guys can continue that conversation.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe they have, Patrick will, whomever we have will have some ideas if other boards have done that as well.
So I do have a question with regards to, I know that there were a lot more lists that were gathered. How many more names did you add? Like, can we?
48.
Only 48 more
We
names?
had 48 targeted invites that went out.
And who were those targeted?
Those were from our BPAC group, presidents of our boosters and our PTC.
Ministerium and
Ministerium.
Sankofa. We didn't have individual emails for everybody on boosters or PTC. We only had emails for the presidents, and we asked the presidents to share it within their organizations to the rest. So there theoretically could have been more than 48, because we asked them to share it. It's just that those were the exact email addresses we had.
So, and the 48 were not already in our,
Correct.
okay, so those were new ones?
Wait, not already in where?
Like with the list that we would send out before to the community, those were new
Never
emails?
sent
We
to
never, we never sent out anything to anyone before prior community chats. We just posted on our website and social
Okay.
media graphics. Yeah. So
Okay.
that list is, we can use that going forward. We could send those.
But it
same-
didn't grab, it's not like it grabbed a ton more people from it.
Well, it didn't, because there was only one person.
Right.
But I would,
I mean, right.
again, I would say, if we have the list, we can do the invites. I don't feel like it's a hard.
That's not, it's not gonna, it's not a game. Did you get a reply back from those 48 emails?
We actually had some RSVPs, a couple, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Two.
Okay.
Okay, good.
We had 2 RSVPs, one from the booster president and one from an individual. And then just somebody else who had moved.
And we did have an interpreter there, right? So that we
Yeah,
were
I was gonna
trying to.
say that, right.
Yeah.
But if we go Zoom, how would we work the interpreter in there in case that does happen?
Yeah, I'd have to think through that.
You know what I
You
mean?
could probably do it.
It's
You can-
possible, we could do it.
I know, 'cause
But
I
would have to think through that, but we could totally do that.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Because Zoom actually has
They do.
they have a
Yeah.
component in there that will automatically interpret for you. So for that.
Yeah, and we use interpretive services when we do large-scale Zooms for our transition events, so we'd be able to help with that.
So I
Thank
mean, so like if for the traditional community chats, if it was only, if an email never went out for it, and here an email went out and there was no change, it's not that this was, like,
Right.
Yeah.
it's not that you're getting a greater,
We had
targeting
tote bags too.
you had 50 of them. How many have left? 49? Did your one person take them? Did your one person take them?
They did.
And I
I
know
don't
that
know
there's,
he did. Did he take
Yeah,
one?
he took one.
and I
Took
will
two, actually.
We gave him 50 tokens.
Get a wagon.
We had enhanced snacks.
We
I-
did.
and I was
The
just gonna
snacks
say,
were
the
delicious.
snacks are always amazing. They're always so good.
Yeah.
People, if anything, should just come for the snacks. 'Cause
Enhanced
Marilyn, you never
snacks?
disappoint with that. They're
That was really
amazing.
fancy.
Enhanced snacks.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And snacks.
I mean, again, keep doing it. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, I think people know
It's
about
an
it.
important connection. No one takes advantage of it, that's okay, but you never know, again, when something's gonna come up, and it's a great structure to have in place. Where people can come informally,
Yeah.
because it's, board meetings just don't offer the same
Yeah.
ability as this office.
And we do know from the one that I went to originally, our first one that we
First
had,
one.
people do know about it.
They
That
know
was a
about
big,
it.
huge turnout.
They know about it,
That was
yes.
a
You
meeting.
had a good one. One little left.
So we'd look at like Q3, probably resurrecting it.
Yep.
We'll pick some dates and you and I can work on that.
Sounds good. All right, any other thoughts on community engagement? Keep at it.
Thanks for
We're gonna
doing it.
keep doing it. All right, now's the time for a second opportunity for audience members to give comments or feedback to the Board of Education, and we do not have anybody signed up, as I see Marilyn shaking her head no. So it is 8:18. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.